The National Book Awards are a set of annual U.S. literary awards. At the final National Book Award ceremony every November, the National Book Foundation presents the National Book Awards and 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards to authors. The National Book Awards were established in 1936 by the American Booksellers Association, abandoned during World War II, and re-established by 3 book industry organizations in 1950. Non-U.S. authors and publishers were eligible for the pre-war awards. Now they are presented to U.S. authors for books published in the United States roughly during the award year. The non-profit National Book Foundation was established in 1988 to administer and enhance the National Book Awards and move beyond into the fields of education and literacy, primarily by sponsoring public appearances by writers. Its mission is to celebrate the best of American literature, to expand its audience, and to enhance the cultural value of good writing in America. In 2010, there were 1,115 books nominated for the 4 award categories, led by the non-fiction category with 435 nominations. The 2011 ceremony was held on November 16 in New York City. Winners and finalists. List of winners of the National Book Award. Winners only. National Book Award for Fiction. Winners and finalists. National Book Award for Non-Fiction. Winners and finalists. National Book Award for Poetry. Winners and finalists. National Book Award for Young People's Literature. Winners and finalists. Current process. National Book Awards are currently given to 1 book annually in each of 4 categories: fiction, non-fiction, poetry, and young people's literature. There have been awards in many other categories, but they have been retired or subsumed in the current 4. The National Book Foundation also presents 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards each year: the Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters and the Librarian Award for Outstanding Service to the American Literary Community. Only publishers nominate books for the NBAs, but panelists may request particular nominations from publishers. Each panel comprises 5 writers who are known to be doing great work in the genre field, and publicity emphasizes awards by writers too. Writers, in contrast to the 1980 to 1987 American Book Awards. Each panel considers hundreds of books each year in each of the 4 categories. Beginning with 2013, the Foundation announced a long list of 10 titles in each of the 4 categories in September, followed by a finalist list of 5 titles in October, and then the winners in November. Previous to 2013, there was no long list and only 5 finalists per category were announced in October. Panel chairs announce the winners and present the awards at the National Book Awards ceremony and dinner held in New York City each November. All finalists get $1,000, a medal, and a citation written by the panel. Winners get $10,000 and a bronze sculpture. History. Pre-war awards by booksellers. The first National Book Awards were presented in May 1936 at the annual convention of the American Booksellers Association. 1 month after the New York Times reported institution of the new annual award, the winners were authors of 4 1935 books selected by a vote of ABA members. Virginia Kirkus chaired the Central Committee of 7, including the ABA president, 3 bookshops, Publishers Weekly, and American News Company. 3 were called the most distinguished of 1935, and 1 the most original. Two of the books were advertised by the publishers as the most distinguished autobiography of 1935 and the most distinguished general non-fiction book of 1935 in NY Times on May 12, the same day that the newspaper reported yesterday's awards. For the next 6 years, 1937 to 1942, the awards were announced mid-February to March 1 and evidently presented at the May convention. The most distinguished non-fiction, biography, and novel were reduced to two and termed favorite non-fiction and fiction beginning 1937. Master of Ceremonies Clifton Fadiman declined to consider the Pulitzer Prizes as potential ratifications. Unlike the Pulitzer Prize Committee, the booksellers merely vote for the favorite books. They do not say it is the best book or the one that will elevate the standard of manhood or womanhood. 20 years from now we can decide which of the masterpieces. This year we can only decide which books we enjoyed reading the most. The bookseller Discovery officially recognized outstanding merit which failed to receive adequate sales and recognition. Finally, that award stood alone for 1941, and a New York Times frankly called it a sort of consolation prize that the booksellers hope will draw attention to his work. Authors and publishers outside the United States were eligible, and there were several winners by non-U.S. authors. The bookseller Discovery and the general awards for fiction and non-fiction were conferred 6 times in 7 years, the most original book 5 times, and a biography award in the first 2 years only. The winning authors and books were selected by a nationwide poll of booksellers during the 1937-38 cycle. Ballots were received from 319 stores, triple the number who voted in the first rendition early in 1936. In a 1941 advertisement, the booksellers described the significance of the awards thus: in effect, his ballot says, of all the books of the year, these are the 3 I enjoyed most, in 2 ways. I enjoyed reading them, and I enjoyed selling them. And that to a bookseller means people who, on his recommendation, read and enjoyed, and sent in other people who also read and enjoyed. The National Book Awards give you perhaps a greater guarantee of reading pleasure than any other literary prizes. Re-established by the book industry. In January 1953, book industry organizations announced that works by Americans published here would be recognized by 3 awards in March. There would be 3 distinct panels of 5 judges. That winter, Harper placed several advertisements promoting the awards. First annual NBA dinner of the book industry in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel on Thursday, with speakers Senator Paul Douglas, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Frederick Lewis Allen. A 1/2-hour program from the awards dinner, including Mrs. Roosevelt's address, was broadcast locally at 9:30 and again at 10 p.m. The awards were administered by the National Book Committee from 1950 to 1974, when the committee disbanded after publishers withdrew support. In 1950 and 1967, at least, the prize sponsors were 3 book industry organizations: American Booksellers Association, the American Book Publishers Council, and the Book Manufacturers Institute. In 1973, NY Times still called the National Book Committee a non-profit funded by publishers and by organizations involved in the book trade. A temporary committee on awards policy handled 1975 new categories and split awards. In 1964, non-fiction was divided in 3. The National Book Award for Translation was introduced in 1967 and split between 2 books. The first split, children's literature, was first recognized as one of 7 categories in 1969. Two awards were split in 1973 for the first time. Publishers dropped the support after 1974 and the National Book Committee was disbanded. In 1975, the temporary administrator begged judges not to split awards. 3 of 27 awards were split in 1983 before the drastic cutback that also required selection of a single winner in all 3 categories for 1984. American Book Awards. In 1980, the National Book Awards were cancelled and replaced by American Book Awards on the film industry model. It will be run almost exactly the way the Academy Awards are run, a spokesman told reporters. There would be nearly 30 awards presented in an extravagant TV-friendly ceremony, to winners selected by a standing Academy of more than 2,000 people in the book industry. Implementation was poor, the episode a disaster. Most new categories survived only 1 to 4 cycles, 1980 to 1983. There were 7 awards categories in 1979, 28 in 1980, 19 in 1983, 3 in 1984. In 1983 there were 30 award winners in 27 categories, including 14 categories of literary achievement in writing for adults, in turn, 5 for hardcover editions, 6 for paperback editions, and 3 general 1983 awards categories: 8 for graphics, pictorial design, typographical design, illustration, collected art, illustration, original art, illustration, photographs, cover design, jacket design. 5 for children's literature, fiction, hardcover and paperback, non-fiction, picture books, hardcover and paperback. 14 for adults literature, general non-fiction, hardcover and paperback, history, hardcover and paperback, biography, hardcover and paperback, science, hardcover and paperback, translation, fiction, hardcover and paperback, poetry, first novel, original paperback. Late that year, the AAP board voted to fund a new version of the awards, which had been close to expiring from lack of support. At the time, AAP and Harper & Row President Brooks Tommy anticipated probably fewer than 10 categories, including some only for original paperbacks, not reprints. Edwin McDowell reported that many book industry officials rank in importance with the $15,000 Booker McConnell Prize for Fiction. For 1983 publications there would be no awards. A committee comprising American Book Awards executive director Barbara Preet and 4 publishers designed the new and improved program, implemented fall 1984 for a publication year beginning November 1983. They cut the roster to merely 3, moved the ceremony from early spring to late fall, and redefined eligibility to require publication during the calendar year of the awards. There were only fiction and non-fiction awards in 1986. In 1987 the National Award returned in name, covering the November ceremony. Edwin McDowell of the New York Times remarked upon the recurring changes in format and contrasted 1983 in particular, when there were 96 finalists in 27 awards categories. The surviving awards for general fiction and non-fiction, now with precisely 5 finalists each, were administered by National Book Awards Inc., whose chairman of the board was the president of Hearst Trade Book Group. He declaimed that book people are really not actors, and there's a realization now that we should not try to reward things like who did the best book blurb. The fixed number 5 finalists was retained through 2012, while the number of book categories has doubled with the addition of poetry in 1991 and young people's literature in 1996. Beginning with 2013, the Foundation announced there would be a long list of 10 titles in each of the 4 categories in September, followed by a finalist list of 5 titles in October, and then the winners in November. Annual eligibility. Currently, a book must be published between December 1st of the previous year and November 30th of the current year. Quote, its publisher must complete nomination by June 15th and mail copies to the panelists by August 1st. The panelists read all the valid nominees over the summer and the panels compile shortlists in September. The pre-war awards were announced in the winter, usually February, and described with reference to the year of publication, if any. For example, National Book Awards for 1939, announced February 1940. The 1950 to 1983 awards, as the National Book Foundation now labels them, were presented in the spring to works published during the preceding calendar year. From 1984, the NBAs are presented in the fall, usually November, to books published roughly during the current calendar year. It appears that books published in the first 10 months of 1983 were never eligible. Medal for Distinguished Contribution. The Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters is a lifetime achievement award presented by the Foundation at the final ceremony for the Book Awards. The medal comes with a cash prize of $10,000. It recognizes someone who has enriched literary heritage over a life of service, or a corpus of work. 5 of the 17 medalists through 2004 were previous National Book Award winners. Between 2005 and 2014, all of the medalists except Leonard have been previous National Book Award winners. Literarian Award for Outstanding Service. The Literarian Award for Outstanding Service to the American literary community is a lifetime achievement award presented by the Foundation annually. From 2005, it recognizes an individual for outstanding service to the American literary community, whose life and work exemplify the goals of the National Book Foundation to expand the audience for literature and to enhance the cultural value of literature in America. 2005, Lawrence Ferlinghetti. 2006, Robert B. Silvers and Barbara Epstein. 2007, Terry Gross. 2008, Barney Rossett. 2009, Dave Eggers. 2010, Joan Ganscooney. 2011, Mitchell Kaplan. 2012, Arthur Salzberger Jr. 2013, Maya Angelou. 2014, Carl Zimmer. 2015, James Patterson. Criticism. Laura Miller, writing in Salon, said the Fiction Award has become a Newbery Medal for adults. Good for you whether you like it or not. She said the impression has arisen that already successful titles are automatically sidelined in favor of books that the judges feel deserve an extra boost of attention. The nominated books exhibit qualities: a poetic prose style, elliptical or fragmented storytelling that either don't matter much to non-professional readers, or even put them off. Quote, she claims the NBA has become irrelevant to average readers and of more interest to professional writers. Craig Fairman, writing in the New York Times, said, the National Book Awards known for this sort of thing. They're awards for insiders. In response to these criticisms, the award has been taking a tough look at itself, hiring a consultant to survey industry insiders, booksellers, editors and even critics, to see if the award process itself needs to be reformed to attract more attention.